All right, let's dive in. Today, we're basically putting on our hard hats and pulling out the blueprints to figure out a really big question. What actually makes a carbon project good? You know, with so much money flowing into climate solutions, how do we know if we're building something solid or something that's just gonna fall apart? Let's get into it.
So, picture this. On one side, you've got these incredible natural solutions, like mangrove forests, that are literally pulling massive amounts of CO2 out of the air. And on the other side, you've got the world of finance, ready and willing to invest in them. The whole idea of a carbon credit is to be the bridge between the two, to funnel money into real-world climate action. But, the big question is, how do we make sure that bridge is actually built to last?
Because that's the whole point, right? It's not just about shuffling money around. It's about creating real, lasting, and verifiable solutions to climate change. So what separates a genuinely great project from all the noise?
Well, even the experts admit it's a huge challenge. The Integrity Council for the Voluntary Carbon Market, a major watchdog in this space, says the market is fragmented and the quality is all over the place. Basically, it's kind of like a massive construction site where every crew is using a completely different building code. You end up with some really solid, impressive structures and some that are, well, pretty shaky.
So, to cut through the confusion, we're going to use a simple builder's framework. We're going to look at what it takes to build a high-quality carbon project from the ground up, focusing on the 3 pillars every single project needs to stand tall: its foundation, its inhabitants, and its final inspection.
First things first, every great building needs a rock-solid foundation. For a carbon project, that foundation is all about the where, the specific site. You can't just vaguely point to a section of the Amazon and say, "We're saving that." No, it has to be way more specific.
The project area has to be crystal clear. We're talking about drawing precise, measurable geographic boundaries that show exactly where the climate action is happening. And this isn't just a nice to have, it's an absolutely strict requirement if you want to create a climate impact that can actually be verified.
And this is where you see just how serious the rules get. If you look at a leading standard like Verra's VCS, they have a whole detailed rule book for this. They demand projects last for at least 40 years. That's what they call permanence. The boundaries have to be mapped with almost satellite-level accuracy. And on top of that, you have to prove you've planned for risks like wildfires or floods to make sure that carbon stays locked away for good. This right here, this is the bedrock of a credible project.
Okay, so our foundation is poured. It's solid. Now, what about the people? A building isn't just concrete and steel, right? It's for the people who live and work in it. For a carbon project, this means we have to talk about who owns it, and, this is crucial, who actually benefits from it.
The key idea to wrap your head around here is something called carbon rights. It's a really powerful concept. It's not always about who owns the deed to the land, it's about who has the legal right to claim the climate benefit, that carbon that's being stored in the trees or the soil, and who gets the money when those carbon credits are sold. Getting this right is absolutely fundamental.
And why is it so important? Because the vast majority of these projects happen on land that has been cared for and managed for generations by indigenous peoples and local communities. A truly high-quality project doesn't just show up and take over. No, it partners with these communities. It has to respect their rights, their deep knowledge of the land, and their leadership. The goal is to empower them, never ever to displace them.
This is all guaranteed through a process called Free, Prior, and Informed Consent, or FPIC for short. And let me be clear, this is not just some box-ticking exercise. This is the difference between a project being a welcome partner and an unwanted intruder. It means consent has to be given freely, without pressure, before any work starts, with all the information on the table, and with the community having the absolute right to say yes or no. Okay, so we've got a solid site with a clear foundation, and we've got clear rights for the community. Now it's time for the final inspection. How do we actually prove that the project is working? How do we measure the climate impact and turn it into something real, like a carbon credit?
This is where the carbon accounting gets really interesting. It all comes down to a simple comparison. First, you have to establish what's called a baseline. That's just a credible story of what would have happened without the project. Business as usual. The number of carbon credits a project earns is the measured difference between that baseline and what actually happens because of the project.
And that brings us to maybe the single most important and most debated word in the entire carbon market: additionality. It really comes down to one knockout question. Would this climate benefit have happened anyway, without the money from carbon credits? If the answer is yes, then the project isn't adding anything new. Proving additionality is what separates a real, tangible climate impact from just wishful thinking.
So, who are the inspectors making sure all this is legit?
well, it's not the Wild West. There are a handful of major independent organizations called carbon standards that act as the referees for the market. They're the ones who write the rulebooks, and as you can see, one of them, Verra's Verified Carbon Standard, or VCS, is by far the biggest player in the game.
And the inspection process they run is really rigorous. It's not just a one-time check. A project has to be designed to the standards rules, then validated by an independent auditor. After that, it has to be constantly monitored, with its results reported. And then, another independent auditor has to come in and verify those results before a single traceable credit can be issued. It's a whole gauntlet of checks and balances designed to ensure integrity.
So let's put it all together now. When you combine these pieces, you get the final blueprint for what a high-quality, high-integrity carbon project really looks like.
So here's the key takeaway. A high-quality carbon credit isn't just about planting a tree and calling it a day. It's a really carefully constructed product. It needs that secure foundation, a permanent site with clear boundaries. It absolutely requires empowered inhabitants, meaning fair ownership and full community consent. And it has to pass a tough inspection, with rock-solid accounting that proves a real additional climate benefit.
Ultimately, the choice we're all facing as this market gets bigger is pretty clear. Are we going to demand quality blueprints and projects built with real integrity? Or will we settle for hollow structures that might look good on paper, but don't actually deliver for the climate? In the end, the quality of our climate future really depends on the quality of the projects we demand today. Thanks for watching.